Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Nancy. You're being recorded.
Who? Us?
Everything, yeah. We're in candid camera.
Oh my gosh. Are you ready? I'm ready. All right. Can everybody hear us? Kate, can you hear me? Oh yeah? Try turning that treble down. That's way hot there. How's that? Is that better?
Try that.
Yeah. Or just getting a mic check here. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic who?
Mic check.
Mic.
Mic check. Whoa.
There you go. Think of it as an ice cream cone, Nancy. You just gotta get right up there.
But how are we gonna do that, Brian?
Together. Like this. All right, well, welcome to Songaia's first annual Strawberry Social. Strawberries, and let's just take a moment of celebration for the cooks tonight. I don't know where's Helen. She was leaving that.
Right up there.
All right. And yes, we're getting there. And how about that dessert tonight, Jacob? And let's not forget the cleanup crew. Oh, and the planners. Yes, let's hear it for the planners that had this wonderful brainchild of a strawberry social. Dessert.
And the ice cream man.
The ice cream man, yes. All right, well, in true Songaia fashion, we thought we'd start with a song. Could you guess?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And you're expected to sing along because the words that you'll be singing are boom diada, boom diada, a boom diada, boom diada. You got that? Annan, you got that? How does it go? Yeah, boom diada. Let's hear it. Boom diada. Ada. Yeah, you got it. Woo! All right. So this is the song I Love Songaia, and Nancy wants to tell you a little history of the words for it.
Well, the melody actually is from I Love the Mountains by Huida, who is a producer, performer, and a physicist. Who would have thought? Anyway, but the first verse of this was written by Laura Gorham, who used to live in the guest room here. That was where she and her son lived for several years.
It wasn't a guest room at that time.
No, that was Laura and Eden and Evan's room. But anyway, she wrote the first verse, and then Fred and I thought there ought to be more loving in this song. So for 2008, we wrote the rest of the verses. But Boom Diada stuck. So you'll see. If you don't know the song, you'll have a chance to sing Boom Diada, Boom Diada, Boom Diada. Okay.
And the first verse, just for those of you who don't know, that other people will sing along, goes, I love Songaia, I love community, I love the flowers, the dandelions, and the trees. I love the people, they mean so very much to me. And then we do the boom diada. Okay? And the boom diada follows every verse. So you'll catch on. I love Songaia, I love community, I love the flowers, the dandelions and the trees. I love the people, they mean so very much to me. Boom diada, 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 boom diada. We love Songaia, we love the way we share. We love the chickens, the goats, and all our kin out there. We love the meetings, the visits, and the hugs of care. Boom diada, boom, 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 diada. We love Songaia, we love our common meals, we love the circles, the singing and the words that heal. We love the garden, the pumpkins and the peas and beans. Boom, diada, 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 boom, diada. We love Songaia, we love the kids and teens, we love the elders and everybody in between. We love the creatures, not the rabbits, and the rocks and hills and running springs. Boom, diada, boom, diada, boom, diada, boom, diada, boom, diada, boom, diada, verse, boom, diada. I love Songaia, I love community, I love the flowers, the dandelions and the trees. I love the people, they mean so very much to me. Boom diada, boom diada, boom diada, again. Boom diada, boom diada, boom again. Boom diada, boom diada, boom diada, again. Boom diada, boom diada, boom diada, boom diada, boom diada, boom.
They did a good job.
job, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, you're all invited back for the next Songaia Strawberry Social.
When will it be? Next year.
Next year!
Oh, okay. I'll just put that on my calendar. I don't know if I'll have time.
Oh, well, we'll put it on now.
Maybe a bit more like in a week advance.
We'll get that to you. I'll have my people call your people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I move over there with the kids?
Sure.
Or a kid? You're young adults.
Thank you, Nancy. All right. Well, and I forgot to mention, Anita is with us here on Zoom. Anyone else on Zoom with us here tonight? All right. Welcome, Anita.
Hi, everybody.
We miss you.
She's talking. Let me see what she says.
Hi, everybody. I miss you. I wish I was there. I love you all.
She says, "Hi, everybody. I miss you. I love you. I wish I was there."
Anita wasn't feeling well tonight. So. Yeah. So we're glad you could come this way. Anita was going to read this story to you as our garden manager. She watches over the interns. And so this is a story from one of our interns who is using an alias for this story. Mulch Carruthers is the intern. And whether or not that's needed, you'll soon see from the story. So just a little bit of background for those who might know. So the garden, we have interns here every year during the summer. Sometimes 1 or 2, sometimes 5 or 6, anywhere in between. And it's just an amazing program. They really, get to our hearts. And many of them have come back and live here now. It's kind of like, what? So that's great. And as part of their job here, they often are writing a blog. I think Patricia, you started that idea. So Patricia was our garden steward before Anita. And so the blogs are these lovely snapshots of community. And Mulch Carruthers has something to say about the community in this blog. It's titled, "Be Cool, Little Seed." As an intern, half of my days are spent in the Songaia garden, which really is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. It's a hectic, chaotic garden, a riot of flowers and vegetables, both eaten, growing into one another's territories and getting all quantum entangled. Most things in it I can't identify and never will. I think this might be a dahlia, but I'm not sure. This might be a carrot, but who's to say? Not me, certainly. These There are vivid royal purples and vaguely pervy pinks where you wouldn't think they'd be. A sudden shock of needles, blues speckled in yellow, the omnipresent, weightless mass of green. The garden is a mixture of practicality and whimsy. Not big enough or efficient enough for self-sustaining agriculture, but sprawling enough to be gorgeous and strange. To sit there and be weird, to be obsessed over and loved. Some residents argue that they should only plant utilitarian, high-yield foods, the better to survive when whatever inevitable Ragnarok is coming finally gets here. But to most of the Songaians, that's not the point. The philosophy behind the garden is you have to feed your soul as well as your body. I spend my mornings in the gardens weeding, mulching, picking fruit, berries, hauling horse shit, and in the afternoons, I'm sent to make things in the barn or tear down old structures or try processing the food we picked in the garden that morning. I make dried figs and blackberry pie and blueberry fruit leather and zucchini chips. Zucchini chips. I'm going full on Little House on the Prairie here. I'm considering wearing a sunbonnet and dying of typhoid. On my first day working in the garden, I meet, and this is a name change too, Helen, an older woman who pretty much lives for the garden, its human avatar, and I come to really respect her depth and breadth of knowledge. She tries to show me how to weed the kale beds, a really important job, as people here go nuts about kale, parsing it like Chateau Lafayette, enumerating its qualities. The curly kale has overtones of pepper, and do I detect, faint hints of cardamom. The Siberian kale has a delicate, rosy-fingered sweetness to it, don't you think? I could see pairing this with a crisp apple salad and a cider dressing would make it really pop. To me, it's just kale.
Yeah.
Just barely the side of food. But I enjoy hearing them dissect the finer points of kale fetishism, although it makes as much sense to me as having a favorite brand of iceberg lettuce. Helen tries to show me how to weed the kale, but it gets rather complicated real fast. We kneel in the dirt and she identifies every single green thing. So we want to weed around these little darlings, but keep in mind, really nothing is truly a weed. They're just life forms growing where we don't necessarily want them to grow. These little ones here, lamb's ears, oh, such fuzzy little things. And who can dislike something called a lamb's ear? Let's just leave her alone. This little fellow here is horsetail, which, yes, is technically a weed, but he has lots of sentimental value for me. So let's just skip over him for now. And this is bindweed, which causes terrible problems and is a devil to get rid of, but is a living thing and has just as much right to life as us. So let's not cut it back too much. It dreams, you know. It has hopes and feelings. This is Buttercup, a weed true. But such a lovely blossom. Would anyone really want to be responsible for ending its life journey? I stammer. So what should I actually do? Helen stares up at the sky, directly at, as far as I can tell, the sun. After giving it a think, she says, I don't know. In another life, this dithering would have driven me up the wall. So cloying. But when Helen does it, I find it infinitesimally charming. This word's not much. I come to really enjoy the gardening process, although I have no patience for it. I lack the zen that comes with waiting gracefully. I fidget. I spaz out easily. I lose interest in anything that takes more than a few days to complete. I wander off, and Gardening takes forever. We grow tomatoes, tend them, weed them, protect them from rats, squeeze them every couple of days, just for the tactile joy of it, say encouraging things to them, and then on their own languorous schedule, watch them turn lipstick shade colors. Pick them, wash them, chop them, a quick puree, boil them down, can them in steaming jars, and all this toil to make something that's worth $2.49 in the supermarket. Practically free in the global economies of scale. It's so crazy labor intensive and slow making food in this medieval way. You spend hours working and get a can and a half of peas, or 3 days to get a couple of jars worth of dehydrated cherries. An eternity for a bland bean salad. By the end, you want to howl, "Save me, Monsanto! Inject me full of GMOs and gluten and corn syrup!" I learned that it's no use planting a crop unless you can tend to it. No use tending to it unless you can harvest it on time. No use harvesting it unless you can preserve it or gobble it all down immediately. And there's little chance of you eating it unless it tastes good. It doesn't have to taste superlative, but at least it has to be medium good, because if it doesn't, you pretty soon fall to the temptation of giving up this life of toil, getting out in the sun, scraping the dirt out from under your fingernails, acquiring a straight job, investing in oil and arms manufacturers, and ordering the cheese fries! But that's where I and Sangaians differ. Tastes are just a bit altered here, and things are a big hit if they taste a little like soil and dirt. They eat salad without dressing. They eat nut-free colored pesto with nutri-yeast. They eat cold kale soup. And even if I conjured something unappetizing up as a joke, I could not have fathomed cold kale soup. At first, I wondered if I was just being a sensitive little Nelly on this point, wondering if these foods are actually bad or just foreign to my palate. I still haven't made up my mind. Sometimes it seems like there's an element trying to prove something with this food. It's like saying, look how much old-timey effort and resources we can put into making something that only a Wiccan pixie would dare to eat. I wonder, can any revolution succeed by eating cream of nettle soup? And if it can, would I want to be on the winning side? But still, the process of gardening is intriguing. Gardening is all about sex, tells me. She's showing me how to cross-pollinate the zucchini. It involves taking the yellow squash blossom flowers, the male and female, and mushing them together, sexing them up. You squish the stamen or pistil or whatever it is of the happy yellow penile head into the vaginas of the female flowers. It's erotic from an inhuman, removed God's eye point of view. She says, and then we're going to take a piece of masking tape and tape the female flower shut in a little chastity belt. Afterwards, there's happy, spermy, Crayola yellow pollen on all of our fingers, and we dispose of the used floral penises, spent and limp. Squashes, Helen says, are very promiscuous. If we didn't tape them shut, they might breed with other strains of squash that we don't want in this bed. It just ensures, the tape, that these little darlings keep their maidenly virtue. What hussies, what trollops these squash are, if given their way. They are proud to announce their place in the oneness of things. Look at my genitalia, they scream with every bright garish color. I'm 16% aroused. A week later, a scandal erupts at Songaia, as someone has been entering the garden at night and taking all the squash blossoms. Especially the male ones, for some reason. This means that the females aren't getting fertilized, leading to little stunted erectile dysfunction squash. It's such a weird crime, and the Songaians are genuinely disturbed by it. We can't let this happen, people! Our squash are suffering! Squash blossoms are edible, so maybe somebody is taking them to garnish their salads. Lists of suspects are drawn up. Armchair psychology is used to determine the identity of the kind of nefarious character who would take all the zucchini wangs in the dead of night. This is symbolic castration of the community! They have me make a dozen signs to be planted around the squash beds. They're out there right now if you go out and look. Saying, please do not pick the squash blossoms, in increasingly desperate and pleading fonts. They go full tilt Agatha Christie on me. So, I saw you going into the west gate of the garden last night around 7:38 p.m. You know where the squash beds are. Anything you care to share, Phil? Even I come under suspicion, which shows how little they know of me. I'm the last person here who's going to wildly stuff flowers in my mouth and gobble them. Except if I thought it was funny, which of course I do. I even begin to suspect myself. Maybe I'm doing it while sleepwalking. We're through the looking glass here, people. Helen is showing me how to plant a new crop of kale, which is much more my speed than weeding the kale. Finally, she demonstrates how to poke a little hole in the soft, wet ground with my finger and drop in a couple of the microscopic black dot seeds. She says they only need to be covered with a thin layer of soil, just like a blanket for these little babies. Such tiny seeds, so much potential. And when you plant them, you tell them, hello, little seed. It's time to wake up. We promise to make this as welcoming a home as we can for you. And we thank you for coming generation after generation and sharing your life cycle with us. You are welcome and accepted here. You are loved and wanted. Please bless us with your presence. And then you breathe. And then she folds her hands and closes her eyes for a moment. You want me to say that? Every time I plant one of these? I look into my cupped hand. There must be 500 seeds, occupying less than half a cubic inch of space. And I am self-centered and small and weak and stupid, and I don't know if I'm capable of actually saying those words in that order. Well, says Helen, that or something like it. Whatever comes to mind. Just give them a blessing, welcome them to our garden. Okay, then. And Helen goes away and does whatever, leaving me on my knees in the deep brown earth. And I swear to God, I try to say those words each time I plant a kale seed. Because I'm trying to be a good person. And not the monster that I secretly suspect I am. I try, but it's hard. Because I'm not a sincere person. I just lack that capacity. I was born without that particular eye tooth. But I repeat Helen's mantra as well as I can remember it, which is not very well. I close my eyes when I say it. And I have to consciously force my eyes not to perform a scoffing teenagerly roll beneath my eyelids. Because maybe if I pretend to be a good person for long enough, I'll wake up one day and transubstantiate into an actual good person. By the fifth seed, however, I've edited the prayer down to little seed, just be cool. And this I'm capable of saying with every one of those 600 seeds, which will eventually grow into a crop that I am incapable of aesthetically appreciating because it's kale. But I say it anyway, eyes closed like a ding-a-ling. And I'll end up saying that every day at my time in Songaia, maybe 30 times a day, silently, inwardly, when something bothers me, which I just don't fundamentally understand the good gentle folk who live there. So something often bothers me. Whenever cream of nettle soup touches my tongue, when my personal furies arrive, which is all the time, I say, little seed, just be cool. I am the little seed in this clumsy metaphor, just to spell it out. It lacks the poetry of Helen's blessing, but it still kind of works. Let's all say it together, shall we? Little seed, just be cool. And then we breathe. So let's send it out to Mulch Carruthers. Woo!
I think that Mulch Carruthers is going to get a copy of the recording.
Of the recording, yeah. So he or she will get to see that. All right. Well, thank you all for your kind attention. And I believe now we have a few people who have pre-agreed to share some music and song and story with us. And then feel free, if you are so moved as a little seed, to jump up and share something that you might want to as well. We will all just say, that's cool, and breathe with you. Yeah. So don't be shy. And are you next? I could be next. Lovely. Right. Thank you.
Ryan, that was so amazing. I love you.
Yeah, good. I'm glad.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you couldn't do it.
Oh, I think this is probably why I was sick, so you could do it. That was just wonderful.
Lovely. Well, feel better soon.
Thank you. Thank
We're
you.
sending all sorts of good juju, though.
Thank you so much.
Do you want me to keep recording, or shall I turn the recording off now?
You could probably stop.
Okay.
But I would love to keep watching if you're willing to
You
leave.
can continue watching. Gina's on too.
Oh, Gina's here. Great.
Yeah. So we have it. I'll turn it back around, but I'll turn off the recording.
Well, that was a pretty awesome story. Not the easiest one to segue from, but I think I'd like to invite us just to start by saying, little seed, just be cool, and breathe. I think I know who this Helen person is. I've met her once or twice. And one endearing feature that I think it missed was a certain practical ruthlessness. I just wanted to add that. this is an instrument that was inspired by steel drums invented in Scandinavia. It's a spin-off of that instrument called a hand drum, and it's enchanting in its own way. And we're going to have a chance in a little bit to maybe do some participation and see how that works. Right? You just start to see what happens.